How many of you have clearly heard this phrase from God in your life? Perhaps you haven't heard it because you haven't fully understood your identity. Here's the secret. Before crossing the desert, you need to know who you are and who is with you. God didn't call us to live bound by opinion, emotional blockages, or self-imposed limitation. He called us to govern, to be the expression of His glory on earth. When you understand this, there is no room for envy, comparison, or doubt. Your identity is unique, your mission is specific, and your journey is non-negotiable. Perfect love casts out all fear. Yet many still live in fear because they haven't understood what perfect love is. Let me ask, what is perfect love? Many will quickly answer, it's Jesus. But is that all? No. Perfect love begins with understanding who you are in God and the ability to love yourself. This is clear when the commandment says, love your neighbor as yourself. If you don't love yourself, how can you love your neighbor? Here's a legal principle to illustrate. Imagine someone steals something from you and you write a petition without specifying the legal clause that was violated. The judge, even with all the evidence, will dismiss the case because you didn't use the right clause. The same applies to the Bible. It's a book of legal clauses. Genesis 1:26, for example, is a clause that defines who you are, created in God's image and likeness, called to govern. Yet, we often live ignoring this, letting lies limit us. When I talk about self-image, I'm referring to how you see yourself in relation to what God has already declared about you. God says, "Be strong and courageous, for I am with you." Yet many believe more in words of fear and condemnation they've heard throughout their lives. If someone says there's something negative in your house, like a curse, you immediately believe it. But if I say your house is filled with blessing, you doubt it. This shows how your self-image is misaligned with what God has already declared. Let's touch on a delicate point. Abraham. Many call him the father of faith, but overlook his mistakes. Out of fear, Abraham gave his wife to Pharaoh and later to Abimelech, accepting dowries in exchange. He acted cowardly and didn't repent immediately. This shows that even the greatest heroes of faith had human flaws. These mistakes had profound consequences. Abraham's decision to accept Hagar, the Egyptian princess, as part of the dowry led to Ishmael, who became the father of a great nation. Today, 1.8 billion descendants of Ishmael exist, and many conflicts in the Middle East trace back to this decision. This isn't about demonizing anyone, but recognizing that Abraham's choices impacted generations. Yet God's sovereignty fulfilled His promise, making Abraham the father of many nations. The lesson is clear. Don't skip steps. Abraham waited 25 years for Isaac, the child of the promise. David knew he would be king, but waited decades to receive the crown. When we try to force timing, we create more problems than solutions. The principle of lesh lecha, go to yourself, teaches that progress begins with self-knowledge. Only when you understand who you are and act based on that revelation can you advance. In the first layer, the design, you only need to accept. God has already crafted your life with purpose. In the second layer, self-image, it's necessary to reframe negative experiences and align your vision with God. In the third layer, self-knowledge, it's time to act. You can't stay where you are. You need to step out of your comfort zone and move toward your purpose. Now, reflect. Are you willing to move forward, or will you remain stuck in the limitations others have placed on you? The choice is yours. But remember, God has already done His part. It's up to you to accept, reframe, and act. Life change begins with movement, not just thought. Your body reacts before your mind processes decision. When you're stagnant, like in a financial fetal position, saying you'll change but not acting, nothing changes. The brain needs movement to create new connections and break cycles of negative, conditioned thoughts. Here's a code. No thought changes movement. Movement changes thought. You don't need to feel to act, but act to start feeling. This is a principle of the brain and body. An example is the unconscious pendulum of the body. When you talk to someone and they slightly lean back, even if they're smiling, the body is saying, "I'm hesitant." You need to learn to read these messages to align body and mind. The fourth layer is decision-making. It doesn't require extreme intelligence, but action without confusion or living bound by condition. Living by conditions means always looking to the past or past experience, judging everything based on. Making decisions, on the other hand, is opening yourself to the new, to experiences yet to be lived. The visual cortex, for example, always tries to compare the present to the past, judging music, people, or environments based on what you already know. This is limiting. True freedom is letting people, situations, and even yourself be at peace. It's the principle of not imposing your judgments on the world around you. The fifth layer is the governance of the soul. The body is just a tool. It reacts to the command of the soul, which must govern it. When your soul is at peace, it governs the body. When it's confused, the body takes control, creating chaos and anxiety. The soul must be governed by spiritual consciousness, the sixth layer, where the relationship with the Creator and purpose reside. The purpose always begins and ends in the same place, God. Everything He created has a natural cycle and return. The artificial world attempts to replicate, but it fails. There is no perfection in the artificial world. Even digital, straight lines are composed of microcurves. This proves that what God created is incomparable. Here's the secret. The spirit is the road, the soul is the driver, and the body is the vehicle. If you are on the wrong road, living outside of your purpose, no amount of effort will correct your direction. Even the devil can enter worship services and use the Bible as an instrument to deceive, but he can never replicate the essence of God's purpose for you. Knowing this is crucial to avoiding spiritual confusion. In the seventh layer lies the overflow. The overflow is the final stage of alignment between spirit, soul, and body. When you live in your purpose, you don't need to strive for results. They come naturally. This is where you find rest because you are aligned with God's will. This rest is not passivity, but absolute trust. Family is deeply connected to these layers. Many people confuse sacrifice with purpose, giving up basic needs to serve others, but neglecting their home, spouse, and children. The result? Fragmented families where respect and admiration are lost. The foundation of identity begins in the family. What is family? Family is patriarchy, assets, and purpose. God created this structure, and it only works when lived in its fullness. Humans can create systems and redefine concepts, but what God established as the foundation, the relationship between husband, wife, and children, is non-negotiable. Nothing God created goes out of style. Rest, patriarchy, family, these are eternal because they are part of the original design.